Number 10. The black palm cockatoo. The black palm cockatoo is believed to be the most beautiful cockatoo in the entire world. It's also an endangered animal in the wild, native to New Guinea, Aru Islands, and a very small part of Australia. It's been considered a sacred animal, and there are only about 3,000 of them left. They don't breed successfully very often, only about one egg every 1 to 2 years, and they need a big hollow hole in trees that take a very long time to form, pretty much decades. They don't ever build their own nests, so ornithologists and the park services are working together to help them have their very specific habitat. These birds are famous for being hard to find in the wild. You can hear them but not always see them. Researchers have observed strange behaviour in the wild known as drumming. These birds will create tools for hours just to drum on trees. So far it seems like they just do it to make noise. They don't use it for hunting or gathering, and there is no observable reward, so there is clearly much more to learn about this bird. You can bet that purchasing one of these birds is going to set you back thousands of dollars. They range between $8,000 and $16,000, so you better have a whole lot of cash lying around if you're thinking about getting one of these birds. But if you do get one, the black palm cockatoo is known to be super affectionate and super needy. They are always wanting attention, and in return they will give their partner lots of love. What's interesting about owning a black palm cockatoo is that it will probably outlive you. At a minimum, a properly cared for black palm cockatoo will live for 40 years, but they have been known to survive for almost 100 years. This means that even if you get one of these birds as a child, it's probably going to live longer than you will. It's probably best to make sure your children or even future grandchildren are going to want to take care of this bird once you're gone. They also require a ridiculous amount of attention. You will need to spend time daily with your cockatoo, and if you don't, they will get destructive and resentful like any other intelligent bird that needs social interaction. Number 9. Ayam Cemani chicken. You probably wouldn't expect a chicken to be very expensive, but the Ayam Cemani chicken is an exception. It's the most expensive chicken in the entire world. While most popular in their country of origin, Indonesia, this chicken has exploded all over the world as an ornamental pet. That means that owning this chicken is like owning a living decoration. And it's not hard to see why. If you are a lover of chickens, you will immediately fall in love with this beautiful bird. They are almost completely black, even having a black beak, black plumage, black meat, black eyes, black skin, and black nails. And yes, even their internal organs and bones are black. What do you think? Would you spend a ridiculous amount of money just for a black chicken? They can go for between $2,000 and $3,000 in the United States, but are much cheaper in their native home. Interestingly, the only two parts of the chicken that aren't black are its blood and its tongue. Oh, and the chicken's eggs. It doesn't lay black eggs, it lays cream-coloured eggs, the same as other chickens. Raising these chickens can be extremely lucrative. What do you think about these chickens? What's your favourite bird? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button for more animal videos. Number 8. The Northern Cardinal. A typical Northern Cardinal can go for around $800. That's not nearly as much as some of the birds on this list, but it's still pretty pricey for something that's just going to squawk at you from its cage all day. Northern Cardinals happen to be one of the most beloved birds in North America. It's even the state bird of 7 different states in the USA. The surprising part is that Northern Cardinals are illegal to keep as a pet in the United States of America, but that doesn't stop the bird being ultra popular in Europe. They have excellent plumage, a pleasing voice, and can live for longer than 20 years. If you want to raise a Northern Cardinal, sometimes known as a Virginian Nightingale in the United States, you are going to need to get a special license from the state as a wildlife rehabilitator. The bird originally lived all over North America and as far south as Belize. They prefer living in park-like habitats and don't mind the presence of humans. And while some birds are slowly going extinct, the Northern Cardinal is actually increasing in population and spreading to many different areas, except for California, where its population is declining, possibly due to out-of-control fires. Number 7. Mountain Bluebird. Another super popular bird in North America is the mountain bluebird. They typically live in prairies, meadows, sagebrush flats, and pastures. In the wild, they typically nest at lower elevations in the winter and then head to higher ground in the summer, but they hate the desert. They cost about the same as a Northern Cardinal, but this is one bird you might not even need to pay for. You can likely attract it directly into your yard if you have the proper perches set up and enough beetles, grasshoppers, fruits, seeds, and grapes hanging around for the birds to eat. They also love to eat spiders, and so they could be a good way of keeping your yard clear of 8-legged freaks. A typical nesting box has a very good chance of attracting a mountain bluebird, so you might be able to save yourself $800 or more. These birds prefer dry cavities in an open field at least 3 feet off the ground. Try sticking a nest box in the middle of your yard and letting the birds come to you. According to All About Birds, the mountain bluebird will even reuse old nest cavities, so you might see new birds coming with each season. Number 6. Flame-faced tanager. Another common yet expensive bird in the United States is the flame-faced tanager. Tanager birds come in a wide variety of species, including blue and yellow, blue and grey, scarlet, opal rumped, and green and gold. There's even a black-faced tanager. And each type of tanager is a little more expensive than the last, with the paradise tanager costing upwards of $1,200 thanks to its uniquely light green head and light blue underbelly. But the flame-faced tanager is my favourite. It costs somewhere between $900 to $1,000 and has a unique face that's been kissed by fire. They are found naturally in the eastern Andes of Colombia, in Peru, and in Ecuador. They are small and have a bright reddish-orange face like fire that fades to a calm yellow. They also have ruffles of blue and green throughout their bodies with spectacular black and blue wings. Number 5. Flamingo. Everyone wants to know how much a flamingo really costs. Flamingos are arguably the most popular bird in the entire world. But how much does it cost to upgrade that fake flamingo decoration in your yard to the real deal? The truth is not so easy to come by. There isn't exactly a market for selling flamingos. While a quick internet search will tell you a full-grown flamingo costs around $1,000, I can't help but feel that it isn't right at all. Even if it is, it's not like you can just call someone up and order a flamingo. These are considered wild birds and are not able to be kept as pets. There's a reason flocks of flamingos are only kept in zoos and in the wild. Flamingos live between 25 and 30 years in the wild and up to 50 years in captivity. So unlike other birds, flamingos actually do much better when stuck in a zoo, but they definitely need a big space to roam. Flamingos need lots of room to run around, and they need the proper food. It would actually be more expensive to have a proper flamingo habitat than to purchase a flamingo itself. They are complicated social animals that require large numbers to operate properly. This is why you always see them in massive groups. A single flamingo in your backyard would be a very miserable thing. Number 4. Toucan. Flamingos might be the most popular birds, but in terms of birds that you can actually own as a pet, toucans are definitely the coolest. There is a reason Toucan Sam is the mascot for Fruit Loops. But there is a lot to know before even considering purchasing a toucan. These are not like little cardinals that can be kept inside a cage in your living room. They are even more complicated than parrots. Oh, and yes, toucans are crazy expensive. We're really getting into the deep of it now. To start off, you will need an initial investment of at least $10,000 just to purchase the toucan, and that's only the beginning. They are expensive to feed, they are expensive to house because you need a massive enclosure that's bigger than most people's apartments, and you need to care for them constantly, which can be a very costly endeavour. Some interesting facts about having a toucan as a pet. They are super social. Having a single toucan would be like having a baby. You need to pay attention to it all day and be its friend. A lot of people don't quite understand how social and affectionate birds really can be. Don't forget that birds are the closest relatives of dinosaurs. They are older than you after evolving for millions of years, and some might say more intelligent. The best way to keep a toucan is to keep more than one, that way they can hang out with each other. This leaves you with a massive hole in your wallet, as it will take upwards of $20,000 just to buy a pair of toucans, and probably another $10,000 just to build the proper enclosure for them. Number 3. Hyacinth macaw. The hyacinth macaw is one neat bird. They are cobalt blue, incredibly vocal, super happy, and extremely intelligent. Because of their huge size, they can be pretty intimidating for people who don't have a lot of experience with birds. Because of the yellow colouring around their beaks and around their eyes, they always appear to be smiling, and you can't help but love to look at them. The photos of this bird don't quite do its justice. It really is enormous, with heights of over 40 inches in length. That's almost 4 feet tall. Imagine a bird that stands up past your knee, depending on how tall you are. Originally hailing from the countries of Brazil, Bolivia, and Paraguay, the hyacinth macaw is like the Great Dane of birds. They are super rare to see in someone's personal collection. You will probably only ever see one of these majestic bluebirds in a zoo. But if you really wanted to purchase one, it's possible to do so for around the same price as a toucan. They cost upwards of $10,000. And yes, they are also an enormous commitment that you will end up needing to support for upwards of 30 years. I know, birds basically live forever. Number 2. American goldfinch. Let's tone it down for a second and talk about the American goldfinch. This is one of the most common birds and it is found easily all over North America. You can easily trick these birds to come into your yard and don't even need to buy one, though they are widely available for sale at just a few $100s. It's a far cry from an expensive toucan, but expensive nevertheless considering you can just put out a feeder and enjoy the golden birds fluttering through your yard every year for free. The American goldfinch is the state bird of New Jersey, Washington and Iowa. Number 1. Racing pigeon. As always, I have saved the best for last. The most expensive bird in the entire world is a racing pigeon. That's right, those annoying birds that poop on your head as you walk out of the train station are more expensive than flamingos, macaws, parrots and toucans. According to a news report from the BBC, a Belgian racing pigeon sold in 2013 to a Chinese businessman for a ridiculous price of $400,000. The pigeon's name was Bolt, and it was reported that the new owner was going to use Bolt to breed more racing pigeons. Even more interesting, the buyers out of 9 out of the 10 most expensive pigeons sold at this auction were either from China or from Taiwan. Whatever they're doing over there, they love expensive pigeons. But why are racing pigeons so expensive? Well, it's just like another sport like horse racing. It's a rich man's leisure activity, with super wealthy people selling and trading the world's fastest pigeons. The same man who sold his pigeon to the Chinese businessman at the auction sold the rest of his bird collection, which contained 530 birds, for around $5 million. Number 10. It always fails. If you have ever wondered why there are no great white sharks in aquariums, it's not for a lack of trying. Institutions all over the world have repeatedly tried to stick great white sharks into captivity. And while many people assume this always fails because great white sharks are simply too dangerous, that is simply not the case. There are so many reasons why great white sharks are unable to be held in captivity. Any attempts to keep a great white locked in a cage has ended disastrously. In aquariums from Las Vegas to Japan, great white sharks have been held in captivity and then swiftly perished. The longest a single great white has been kept in captivity was for 198 days. The quickest a great white has ever died when put in captivity is about 3 days. There are a few major problems, one of them being that the tank required to hold a great white would be way larger than any aquarium could handle. Then there is its diet to consider, and you also have to think about the behaviour of the great white sharks themselves and what they do in the ocean. Number 9. The Monterey Bay Aquarium Disaster. Attempts to hold a great white shark in captivity started in the early 1970s. Major aquariums began to advertise great white sharks on display. However, they never survived very long in their tanks. They wouldn't eat, they couldn't swim properly, and after anywhere from a few days to a few weeks, the shark would be dead. Prior to 2004, the longest a great white shark ever remained living in an aquarium was only 16 days. But that all changed in 2004 when the Monterey Bay Aquarium in Las Vegas kept a great white shark, albeit a young one, in captivity for an astounding 198 days. But this was no easy feat. They had to design a special tank for the ocean animals. Plus, the shark was just a baby. It was only about 4 feet long, whereas an adult great white shark would be at least 15 feet long. In any case, the aquarium decided to release the shark after 198 days. This happened after the great white attacked 2 other sharks that were sharing its tank. They weren't great whites, but it still attacked and killed them. Since then, the Monterey Bay Aquarium has tried again and again to keep a great white shark, but it never worked. After they had to release their 6th great white back into the ocean after it only survived 55 days, they ended their exhibition program in 2011. Number 8. They need to swim. A big problem with having a shark in captivity is that sharks need to swim. In the ocean, sharks are constantly swimming all day long. They are nomadic and can roam super long distances in a single day. Obviously, they are not able to swim dozens of miles in whatever direction when they are living in a tank. And I'll tell you why this is a huge problem. Most sharks breathe by filtering oxygen from the water that passes through their gills. Most fish can do this by using their mouths. They don't need to be moving all the time, but with great white sharks, they must be constantly in motion for the water to enter their gills so that they can breathe. This means that when they stop moving, they stop breathing. This is why so many sharks that were held in captivity had an extremely difficult time. They would hit the glass of their enclosure so often that they developed sores from the damage. These beasts are not meant to be kept in a cage. They literally can't breathe. What do you think about keeping sharks in an aquarium? Let me know in the comments below. And be sure to hit that subscribe button for more fascinating animal videos. We have lots more coming up. Number 7. Japan tried it again. Even though the Monterey Bay Aquarium put an end to their exhibition program in 2011, other nations and other aquariums continue to try and harness the power of a great white shark for tourist dollars. One of the most recent lessons came from Japan. It was back in 2016 when a fisherman caught an 11-foot great white shark in their net. The great white shark went from the fisherman's net straight into an aquarium in Okinawa. It was displayed in the Sea of Dangerous Sharks exhibit from between January the 5th, 2016 and its death on January the 8th, 2016. If you need me to do the math for you, that's a whopping 3 days of living in captivity. According to the press reports, the great white shark refused to eat and took a dark turn for the worse. As you can imagine, this sparked outrage all over the world, with an official representative of PETA saying that keeping the shark in captivity was wrong and cruel. Suffice to say, the Japanese probably won't be trying to do that again. Number 6. It takes a lot of water. You already know that great white sharks require an outstanding amount of water so that they can swim continuously to keep the oxygen flowing into their bodies. Because of this, you would need an unrealistic amount of water to keep a great white shark contained properly. It would require a fantastic amount of money, a miracle of engineering, and a cage more expensive than any aquarium is willing to purchase. Just as an example, the tank that was specially designed by the Monterey Bay Aquarium to hold their baby great white shark contained 1 million gallons of water and reached a depth of 35 feet. And this was only for a baby shark. What were they expecting to happen when the great white grew to be 15 feet long? It wouldn't have even fit inside the tank even a little bit. In order to do this properly, you would need to create a shark tank the size of a small village. That way the shark could do laps at its leisure all day long without ever feeling like it was trapped. Number 5. Transportation is an issue. One of the biggest problems has to do with transportation. Don't forget, the only way to capture a great white shark is to do it in the ocean. You would actually have to go out into the ocean, somehow scoop the shark out of the water, and then drive it halfway across the country to whichever aquarium wanted to house the beast. As you can imagine, between the trauma, the displacement, and the funds it would take for such an expedition, it's just not worth it. Take the baby shark that was exhibited for 198 days in the Monterey Bay Aquarium, for example. According to the local news reports back in 2004, the shark was first accidentally caught by a halibut fisherman off the coast of Huntington Beach. The shark then had to be transferred to the aquarium's ocean pen, where it was closely monitored, and transferred yet again to the aquarium using a special 3,000-gallon shark tank on wheels. You can't just FedEx a great white shark. Number 4. French aquarium and the hammerhead shark. It's not only great white sharks that have a hard time being kept in captivity. In 2019, an ocean conservation group filed a lawsuit against a French aquarium because of the deaths of 30 endangered hammerhead sharks. This happened at the Nausicaa Aquarium in the French city of Boulogne-sur-Mer. They had initially acquired their hammerhead sharks from the waters of Australia, but they all died from fungal infections since being brought to the aquarium. This comes from the largest public aquarium in all of Europe. And it's especially tragic considering these sharks are supposed to live for between 20 and 30 years in the wild, but they only lasted 8 years in captivity. The hammerhead shark is on the red list of endangered species at the International Union for Conservation of Nature. And while the aquarium has defended its collection of the hammerhead sharks, conservationists were still extremely unhappy that such a thing was able to happen. Number 3. Great white robots. If you still want to get your fix of great white sharks, a new project is underway. A Hollywood robotics company is trying to replace sea life attractions with robots, including robotic dolphins and great white sharks that are 100% animatronic. This could potentially change the way animals are kept in captivity. The San Francisco-based special effects company named Edge Innovations is trying to revolutionize theme park shows in a time when more and more of the public cries out against the cruelty of keeping animals, especially wild animals like sharks and dolphins, locked inside cages. The long-term vision is to fill aquariums with robotic sharks, dolphins and whales, allowing visitors to get a glimpse of 100% anatomically correct sea monsters, except that they are robots. The most famous project of the company was when they created free-swimming orca whale robots for the 1993 movie Free Willy. While this project is still in its developmental stages, it could be a huge step forward in the way we experience wildlife at the zoo. Imagine if they could reconstruct a megalodon to 99% realism and have it swimming around at your local aquarium, no different to watching the real thing. This could be the first step to a robotic Jurassic Park. Number 2. Keeping great white sharks alive. While some people may think the best way to see great white sharks is in captivity, it's actually better if we can just keep seeing them in the wild. The best way to see a great white shark is by going on an expedition into the ocean and being lowered into a shark-proof cage. But to do this, we need to stop fishing sharks and cutting them up for their fins. On the front line of the efforts to conserve the entire species of great white sharks is the island nation of Taiwan, who in July 2020 formally announced a ban on fishing great white sharks. This comes straight from Taiwan's fisheries agency. The regulations require that all Taiwanese fishing boats are to release great white sharks back into the ocean if they are caught by accident. While this might not seem immediately related to great white sharks being kept in captivity, it's actually a great step towards ensuring they never get abducted from the ocean, sent across the world, and left in an aquarium to die 3 weeks later. If more countries adopt regulations like this, we can continue to see great white sharks swimming in the wild for years to come. Number 1. Never seen at the zoo. Great white sharks are not the only animals that can't be kept in captivity. Because of the nature of certain animals and their needs, there are a handful of other creatures just like the great white shark that you will never see in captivity. One of the most notable is the mountain gorilla. Although many attempts were made in the 1960s and 1970s to capture mountain gorillas and breed them in captivity, it has never worked. Every mountain gorilla ever caught and stuffed into a cage has been affected by stress and subsequently perished due to disease. Two of the most exciting sea creatures, the giant squid and the narwhal, have also been impossible to capture. First of all, the giant squid is so elusive that scientists barely even get to look at one, so the chances of an 80-foot squid ending up at your local aquarium is basically zero. As for the narwhal, which is known as the unicorn of the sea thanks to its long tusk, it's also super elusive. Narwhals hunt in deep water and are hard to catch. According to a Canadian narwhal specialist, Pierre Richard, most researchers only ever catch a glimpse of a narwhal throughout their entire lives. While a narwhal can live for over 100 years in the wild, they die very quickly when stuck in captivity. You won't be seeing a unicorn of the sea at the zoo probably ever in your lifetime. Number 11. The serval. The serval is a beautiful wildcat native to the central and southern African grasslands. They are smaller, slender cats with extra long necks and long legs, so they are also known as giraffe cats. They have to be careful of leopards, wild dogs, and hyenas who are out to get them. While they only weigh about 40 pounds max, proportionally, they have the largest ears of any cat. As the San Diego Zoo says, if we had ears in the same proportion to our heads as servals do, they would be the size of dinner plates. They are quick and limber, able to hunt all types of prey. Some people even have servals as pets, but before you even think about it, be aware that this is a wild cat and not domestic. While cute, they aren't necessarily cuddly and have tons of energy. They play hard and like to mark their territory. They might destroy your home while having fun. Number 10. The American Wirehare. The American Wirehare cat is one of the rarest house breeds in the world, and yet they don't actually look that unique. They are typical of their ancestors, which were the original cats bred to keep rodents out of barns and houses, but they have a peculiar coat of hair. The breed first appeared in 1966 when a kitten was found in a litter that had a wiry look to it. The kitten was then sold to a breeder who tried to replicate the wiry appearance of its hair. Through all this breeding, we have now ended up with the American Wirehare. This breed is becoming more and more popular in the United States, especially as a show cat. People love it for its curly fur. It doesn't look alien or strange, it's just a little unique, with a little more personality than your typical house cat. And as a companion, American Wirehare cats are pleasant, relaxed, and exceptionally affectionate. Number 9. Turkish Van. The Turkish Van has been around for centuries. These cats are playful and energetic, and they have extremely unique tails that make them very desirable cats. They almost have raccoon tails. Turkish Van cats are bigger than normal, they don't have very many medical issues, and they're surprisingly good swimmers. This is why they are also known as the swimming cat. The Turkish Van has an extremely soft coat of hair, which happens to be naturally resistant to water because it's so silky. This is one of the least stressful cats to give a bath to. The unusual markings are what people really desire with the Turkish Van. The cat will typically have a completely white body with a bit of colouring on their face and tail. And talking about their tail, it's the bushy, squirrel-like tail that really makes them stand out. It's also not uncommon for this type of cat to be born with one blue eye and one amber eye. The Turkish Van is one of the oldest cat breeds and dates as far back as 5,000 years ago, living mostly in the central, mountainous regions of Asia, in what is now Turkey. But it wasn't until the 1950s that this cat was brought from Asia to Europe, and not until the 70s that the breed finally landed in the United States. Number 8. Maine Coon. The Maine Coon is one of America's very own cat breeds. It hails from Maine and dates as far back as the beginning of the 19th century. They were first popularised as mousers, farm cats, and cats that lived on ships to try and hunt down all the disgusting rats. These cats are absolutely enormous. If you've ever seen the photos online where somebody is holding a Maine Coon and it looks bigger than its owner, it's not a lie. This cat holds the record as the world's longest house cat, with the official record holder coming in at 48.5 inches, half an inch longer than 4 feet. His name was Stewie, and he was a grey tabby Maine Coon. This type of cat will not reach their full size until between 3 and 5 years old. According to Cat Time, there are some rumours that it was the Vikings who initially brought the Maine Coon's ancestors to North America, but others even speculate and say that the cats are descendants of the unique long-haired cats that belonged to Mary Antoinette and were sent to America in advance of the Queen before she died, as she had hoped to escape to America. But the truth is that it was likely sea captains who brought back long-haired cats, who then mated with local American short-haired cats to create the Maine Coon. I've heard they make amazing pets. Do you have a cat? If not, what kind of cat would you get? Let me know in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe for more fun facts about animals. Number 7. Bengal Cat. The Bengal cat is probably the most desirable rare cat in the world. Everyone wants one of these exotic house cats. They are huge, agile, and have extremely muscular bodies. If there was any house cat that belonged in the jungle, it would definitely be the Bengal. However, these cats are a lot friendlier than any kind of jungle predator. They are super affectionate with humans, and they have a high level of energy that makes them super fun to play with. This means they need a lot of space, and someone who can match their ferocious energy. But where does this interesting cat get its leopard print coat from? There's no denying the Bengal looks like a wild cat ready for the hunt. So far as the story goes, these cats were crossed between an Asian leopard cat and a domestic short-hair cat. They were first created by a breeder in California completely by accident. This was somewhere between 1950 and 1960, and after even more extensive breeding, the International Cat Association eventually granted the breed experimental status in 1983 and fully recognised them in 1991. These cats have been nicknamed the Rolls-Royce of felines, with a British woman allegedly paying over $50,000 for a Bengal cat in the year 1990. So yeah, these are definitely some pretty rare felines. Number 6. Mintskin. I bet you haven't heard of the Mintskin cat. These little kitties are super bizarre. They obviously look a lot like a Sphinx cat, but they aren't quite the same. They have a lot more fur than the hairless Sphinx. The Mintskin has super short legs with a stocky body, sort of like a corgi, and they are completely hairless on their belly. However, they do have patches of fur often on their faces, ears, legs, nose, and tail. This makes them a little cuddlier than your typical Sphinx, which is great because Mintskin cats are affectionate and very outgoing. Where did these weird cats come from? Well, they originated in Boston. It's what happened when a Sphinx was crossed with a Munchkin, then later crossed with a Burmese and Devon Rex. It took 2 years of constant breeding to get the Mintskin cat, but it finally happened in the year 2000. And by 2005, there were around 50 Mintskin cats in the world. They are not currently recognised as an actual breed, since there are very few of them in existence. But they are of course a unique breed of cat, and one of the rarest since there are so few of them living today. Number 5. Devon Rex. The Devon Rex is another rare cat with an unusual appearance. They have a rather triangular head with large eyes and extremely big ears. Some people say the Devon Rex looks a lot like a pixie or an elf in cat form. They also have extremely unusual hair. They have a distinct lack of fur in some areas, with the rest of their coat being soft and curly. This is a cat you should never brush, as their hair is so fragile that it can break off completely. They also have super fragile whiskers that often get broken. This cat originates from England. It started with a Cornish Rex and a straight-haired barn cat mating, and they gave birth to a cat named Curly, who is believed to be the very first Devon Rex. The Cornish Rex is the greyhound of cats because of the way they run, with the same galloping motion of its canine counterpart. These cats are famous for their jumping abilities. They love to hang out in trees and soak in the sun. Number 4. La Perm Cat. The La Perm cat is also known as the Dall's La Perm. The very first La Perm litter was born in 1982 in a cherry orchard in Oregon, making this breed one of the newest and rarest. It's best known for its distinct appearance, having tightly curled hair around the neck, ears and tails. Because the LePerm is a direct result of a random genetic mutation, they can be found in a variety of different colours and patterns. But you most often see these cats as ginger, tabby or tortoiseshell. As with most cats, the LePerm breed is super affectionate with their human family. They do well in households with or without children. Because their ancestors were barn cats, LePerms are highly active. They like to exercise and play on a daily basis, and after a good session of running around the house, they enjoy cuddling on the couch and relaxing. What's really unique about the LePerm is that they have minimal vocalization. They don't meow very much, unlike some cats that just wandered the house meowing for absolutely no reason. Number 3. Peterbald. In my personal opinion, Peterbald cats are the strangest cat breed in the world. There is something way too human about their face, although others claim they're very dog-like. These cats originate from Russia and are fiercely loyal and extremely affectionate. This type of cat is notorious for following humans around the house, meowing constantly and living for a ridiculous amount of time. A typical Peterbald cat will live for at least 15 years, displaying a high level of energy and friendliness throughout its entire life. You'll often find yourself tripping over it as it tries to weave between your legs. The cat is extremely rare, but its history is somewhat limited. From what we know, the breed first came into existence in 1994 when a Russian breeder crossed an Oriental short-hair cat with a Don Sphinx cat. The result was this absolutely bizarre creature we now call the Peterbald. If you haven't guessed by now, the Peterbald got its name because of its extreme popularity in St. Petersburg, Russia. And even though it only came into existence in 1994, it's already recognised by the Cat Fanciers Association. It remains one of the rarest purebred domestic cat breeds in the entire world. There are not many of them around, and there are even fewer in the United States. Number 2. Sokoke. The Sokoke is another lifetime cat, living longer than most dogs. But it is extremely rare. It's rarer than most of the rarest Ferraris. As of 2020, it is believed that there are currently less than 30 Sokoke cats currently registered in the United Kingdom, and even less in the United States. However, this number is likely to grow exponentially in the coming years. Sokokes are one of the best cats for someone who wants a lot of affection. These cats tend to form an incredible bond with their owners, quickly becoming everyone's best friend once they have settled into the family. But what makes these cats so unique? They look pretty similar to a typical barnyard cat. However, they have an extremely defined face. They have almond eyes, large ears, and superior cheekbones to almost any other cat. They have an almost refined look to them that makes them like royalty among normal cats. What's even more interesting is that they were not created specifically through breeding. This type of cat is naturally occurring in the coastal areas of Kenya, near the city of Mombasa. While almost extinct in the wild, hopefully more and more breeding will boost their numbers. Number 1. Caracal. While not a house cat by any means, the Caracal is still an amazing feline, and they have one of the most interesting histories. The Caracal was once trained to hunt birds in Iran and India hundreds of years ago. This is because the Caracal has a fantastic jumping range, able to leap into the air and knock down 10 to 12 birds in a single go. Even though some people have referred to the Caracal as a desert lynx, it doesn't actually share any attributes with anyone in the lynx family. The hope is that Caracals can eventually be converted into house cats because of their relatively small size. They are only about 40 pounds, standing around 20 inches at the shoulder. And while they are still wild animals and not recommended at all to be purchased as pets, they are close to endangered in the wild. According to Big Cat Rescue, there are only around 170 of them currently in zoos around the world. This makes them one of the rarest cats. Which of these adorable cats would you like to adopt? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you again soon. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to get all the latest videos. See you next time.